Evening, everyone. Welcome along to the Monday night Rangers Rabble phone-in. My name's Brian, and tonight I am joined by a stellar guest list tonight. Mark, how are you doing?
I'm all good in the hood, mate. How's yourself?
Yeah, not bad at all, not bad. Wolf, how are you?
Fine, Brian, thank you.
Good journey up yesterday?
Yesterday, what day was yesterday? Sunday. Yeah, it was okay. Sorry, I've lost all track of days. Yeah, it was okay.
Good. And Robert, welcome back. How are you been?
Aye, no bad. Listen, jumping a bit to get back on. Monday night, it's a phone-in format as well, which I love, so I'm really looking forward to it. And as you say, the dream team's on the night, so it should be a good night.
Yeah, absolutely. And welcome everybody in the chat. So we'll dive straight into it, guys. Rangers 1, Aberdeen 0. Wolf wasn't exactly a performance to remember, but it was 3 points on the board, and a win's a win, wasn't it? I mean, it was pretty wasn't it?
With a goal scorer, it would have been about 6 or 7, to be perfectly honest. And we didn't play very well. That's how bad Aberdeen are. I mean, they caught us a couple of times on the break in the first half, which is what they were always going to do. But yeah, it was. If you could show somebody an end of season game, show them that, because that was an end of season game. It really doesn't mean a lot. Just the object of the exercise was win the game. We won the game. It was a fantastic goal that won us the game, and we'll move on to Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, Mark, it was a typical sort of performance where it's a game that really had no meaning, and you could feel it in the sort of the stadium as well. There wasn't much going, wasn't much sort of chanting and singing and getting going. I mean, the loudest was just before kickoff, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's just a dead rubber. That's the best way to describe it. I think that I know we're trying to discuss the game, but there really wasn't anything to discuss. It was flat. No much really to talk about. The only positive you can take out is a few boys get some minutes under them belt. That's about it, really. As I said, pedestrian looked what it was. End of season, nobody really fighting. No fire in their belly. Just through the motions, I think.
Yeah, Robert, that's the sort of feeling I got. It was just a game where a lot of the players I think it's one of the first sort of matches I've watched where you can actually see that they're just wanting the season to end, aren't they? And it's just a case of get games out of the way, and a lot of them are leaving. So there's a definite sort of apathy. There was a definite apathy in the stadium, players and fans, wasn't there?
I think it's like what you say. Like everybody does just want the season to end, and I know any Rangers supporter doesn't want to hear that these games they don't mean anything. That there's no pressure there, and every game should mean something to play for Rangers, and all that sort of stuff. But I think, as you say, we just want the season done now. It's been a really disappointing campaign. Started with promise. We thought we'd do really well this year, and we've just not lived up to it. I think it's difficult when you watch the match, that especially first half. Wolf mentions there, Goldson and Davies showed so much promise in the first 9-10 games that they were together, and I thought they looked really just odd yesterday in the first half. I know Davies was off injured and probably might not make the weekend, if you listen to what Michael Beale said after the match, so it's a good chance for John Suter to maybe play the remainder of the games. But Yilmaz looked okay. I think picking up Scott Wright, when he came on, I don't want to keep the guy, but I just thought, where's that been for the last maybe 18 months? Maybe it's because he was against Aberdeen or something. Do you know what I mean? I thought he looked all right. But no, it's you take the 3 points and you sort of move on. I think that the biggest thing from the day was the other result in the game before, so there was no party next week in our manner. So that was a big thing for me. Whatever happened at our place was just a formality, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. So, folks, like and subscribe the YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook if you could. Also, the Patreon link description is below. Couple of quid a month, depending how generous you're feeling or what you want to watch. There's lots of content. There's match reactions. There's getting to know you. There's the EPL show, the women's show. There's lots of new shows coming on. So, the Legends series as well. So get involved if you really want. it's worth it. It's worth the couple of quid a month. So, Wolf, a couple of performances and players we'll speak about. I think the big one obviously was after the manager's comments about Mr. Morelos, saying, that basically he's going to be leaving. And it's the first, well, I think it's one of the first sort of times that a manager's called out his player like that, isn't it? It doesn't happen very often.
Well, it's the first time he's actually come out and said he's going. He's always said there's negotiations, there's this, there's that. It's the first time I've actually can remember the manager saying he's going. I was a bit, when I saw the team, it was more or less what I thought it would be. But I saw Morelos on the bench. I'll be honest, I was a wee bit pissed off because I didn't really want to see him after last week. I didn't really want to see him again, and I knew he'd bring him on. And the longer it stayed at 0-0, I knew he'd bring him on because that was just what was going to happen. He's the only striker we've got because Cholak's injured. I don't know why he's injured. I don't know what the injury is, but he's injured. And obviously, you can't throw the young lads into games like that. So again, that's down to the recruitment. Same thing happened this time last year. We didn't have a striker because we went to a European final without a striker because they were injured. So I mean, for all Morelos is the only kid we've got, and I expect him to play next Sunday because it's them. But personally, I wouldn't be. I was surprised he played me. To hear the manager come out and say that when he came on, it changed, but not in a good way. That's damning. I mean, that's a damning indictment of the guy. I mean, he's. I mean, Michael Beale's 100% right. He brought nothing to the team when he came on. Brought absolutely nothing to the team. He'd have been as well just persevering with what he had. I mean, Sakala up front's not the answer, but at least he puts the effort in. The work rate's there. I mean, Morelos checked out a long time ago. I think Morelos is comfortable because he's come from a very poor background. He's made his money. He's done everything he can do here. He was loved here for long enough. I mean, there's better players than him chucked it in the last year at Rangers. You know what I mean? And I just think he's down tools, and he needs to move for the good of him and his career, and for the good of us. He really needs to move on. It's just it's poor from our recruitment department that we don't have another striker other than a youth player. There should be somebody in between, and I know that's difficult, but I mean, because Cholak's, I don't think it's the answer for the way that we play. So we need somebody else. I mean, first, I know we'll touch on Sunday later, but I mean, for Sunday, as I say, I wouldn't be surprised if Morelos starts, but would be as well thrown, one of the B team players. You know what I mean? Just to see what happens, or do we go with Sakala again? Or as Robert said, Scott Wright looked the part on Sunday. I don't like Scott Wright particularly. I just think he runs about a bit. Is he worth putting on to run at their centre backs, particularly with Carter Vickers not being there? You know what I mean? Because that other guy doesn't seem particularly clever from what I heard about him yesterday. But I don't know. That's all for later on. But no, Morelos was an embarrassment to himself, to be perfectly honest. And he let everybody down. I mean, his teammates must be looking at it going, hold on, we don't want to be playing with him. You know, I mean, they said earlier in the season, look, the thing you need to ask in the dressing room is, do you want to play with him? Do you want to have him in your team? And the players to the man all said yes, about everybody. Surely the pitch into the training, do you want him in your team? They'll all say no, you would think, because he's a liability for me. And I love Morelos. What he's done for us, we'll remember him a lot fonder once he's gone. You know, I mean, if you remember Brian Laudrup's last year, he stayed a year too long. He did nothing in his last year before he went to Chelsea. But everybody still loves Brian Laudrup because Brian Laudrup's Brian Laudrup. We'll remember Morelos for the goals he scored, But as I saw on Twitter earlier on, is somebody highlighted the fact his wife had put all his personal accolades on her Instagram, and somebody on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, so I can't name check him, highlighted it and said, that's fine, but personal accolades are second at this club. It's winning trophies, and he's not winning enough trophies. And that's 100% right.
Yep. Nail on the head. I mean, I was quite pleased that Michael Beale came out and said that, because I think it's been a long time coming. It's been 18 months, I would say, since he's last sort of been, decent with that in the league, certainly. Maybe last year's European run, he was decent. He was really good up until he got injured. But the phone lines are open, 0141 628 7237. And if you want to chat, whatever you call, you raise the topic and we'll discuss it. So give us a call. Don't be shy. We're all Rangers fans at the end of the day. So get in touch and give us a call. So Mark, do you think he'll play again? Morelos, do you really see these last 4 games? Do you see him featuring at all?
It's a tricky one. I think that Beale pretty much came out and said what everybody's been thinking for the last season, maybe even more than the last season. After that, is there any way back? We know how huffy it can be anyway. So I mean, is there any way back for him to come and can I give us his all for the last couple of games? I don't think so. I might be proven wrong. Our only problem is at the moment we do not have a striker. So, I mean, for me, Sakala's no centre forward. He's not a striker. He's a wide guy, or he's maybe can play off a striker. But for me, he's not an out and out striker. So that puts us into a kind of sticky wicket because we're going into an Old Firm game, which for years this is probably an Old Firm game that's meant the least for God knows how long I can remember. So it's going to be quite a strange Old Firm. But we're going into it with no striker, and I just hope that we don't make a rip roaring James Hunt of it, because I think there's potential there. So I mean, I'm probably more apprehensive about this one than I have been than I was the last one in the cup there. But Beale's just, as I said, Beale's just done exactly what everybody was thinking, and I don't think there's a way back for him. I really don't.
Robert, is it fun? Is it? Well, I think it's blatantly apparent now that the majority of the fans have simply had enough of him, and I think Michael Beale saying it sort of cemented what the Rangers fans have been feeling for quite a long time. I'm just surprised it's taken Michael Beale so long. I mean, for me, I was done with him after that performance at Hibs where he came on as a sub and got sent off and cost us 2 points. We would have won that game if we had 10, but when we went down to 9, it was always asking for a goal. So from that moment on, I was pretty much done with Morelos. And yeah, but I mean, it's a really difficult one, as Mark says. We've not got a striker fit. There's only him. We're going into an Old Firm game. It's pretty much the scenario you would hate, but we're in it. So do you think he'll start?
But the question you've got to ask is, are Michael Beale's comments going to motivate Alfredo Morelos when he sat in the house tonight to think about the game on Sunday? I don't think so. So the answer is you can't risk him because he'll be a liability. I take a wee bit of umbrage with what Will said and blaming, that's on the recruitment team. I don't agree with that because I think when you've got 2, maybe 3 strikers, we'll count Sakala in the pot. Obviously, you're not planning on them all being injured. You're only going to really get one spot for one anyway. Then one of the younger lads needs to be ready. So I think the academy needs to take some sort of responsibility because this boy Lovelace came with so much promise. Through the season, we've heard a lot about Robbie Ewer. There's got to be a point where they can come in, whether it's just to play on the bench or to play against in these games where there's not a lot at stake. I know it's an Old Firm game, but I totally agree with what Mark says. It's got to be the most meaningless one I've ever witnessed in my 37 years on the planet because there's nothing in it for us. And the only thing that's going to probably motivate Celtic supporters is, like Mark says, accumulation. They'll enjoy that. And that could be on the cards, by the way. It really could. You wouldn't rule it out. I think the last Old Firm game, we went in there. It's probably the worst I've felt in a long time in terms of no confidence at all. Usually, I have a wee moment of doubt, but I was dreading it, absolutely dreading it. So this one's going to be just as bad. But I do think that the club. I don't think it's. Sorry, somebody's saying shouting. That's just my talking voice, Aldo. Sorry. I don't think it's the recruitment because you don't really bank on. Players getting injured. It's such a special when you only get one berth. If you do go out and bring another win, let's just say we had another striker and he's only playing 5, 6, 7 games a season. Is he really going to be 1 fit and fired and 2 hungry to turn up and do the job? So But to answer your question, I don't think you can play Morelos again. No, I really don't. And I kind of fear what reception he'll get on the final day when he's doing his lap honour, because as Wolf says, he seems to be more motivated for Alfredo Morelos than just for the crest on his breast. So it's really disappointing. I thought as well he was probably going to go last summer, and that's why he maybe got that operation and tried to get himself a move in the summer there. But he's certainly in no doubt a point to get injured now, because he's obviously knows he's moving come the end of the season. So it's a shame really, because at his peak he was really, really good, and he was the striker we needed at the time. We were crying out for a cult hero. In comes this wee boy for Colombia. He's exotic. He's lively. Gets stuck in. He started off playing with a smile on his face. It was a breath of fresh air. And in Europe, especially under Gerrard in the Europa League, he was an absolute monster at times, wasn't he? So
hold your thought, Robert. We've got Colin on the line. Colin, nice to speak to you again. How are you?
How you doing, boys? All right?
Yeah, not bad. What's on the mind tonight?
I just wanted to say, great pod, guys. Love listening to it. It's magic. I love listening to all the Rangers talk. It's brilliant. But I was laughing with the big man there that all the Celtic fans phoning man. They're just sad, pathetic bastards, man. They really are. But my point is, like, I've been watching football long enough to know, injuries happen, and then watching Ben Davies go off for the weekend, Tillman's injured. You were talking earlier on there about if we got a striker and Joe Hatches out, and it's just, I've been wondering where Craig Flanagan is right now. I don't remember us having anywhere near these kind of injuries when Craig Flanagan was doing the sports science stuff in the background. And it's either that, it's a change, this new guy, Jack Aid or whatever his name is, or do you just think see Tillman getting an injury after doing a warm-up and stretching and all the stuff you do before a game, and then, I know anything can happen, but is it a case of they're just not looking after themselves or something? Because I just can't understand. And it's always been the case with Rangers at crucial times. We're always big players doing. And last season, all our big players have been doing. We've been horrendous injuries. Just wanted to know what your comments were on that, guys, because I just think I just don't know what it is. It's either the players are not only looking after themselves, or the backroom staff are not looking after them. I mean, it's quite bizarre.
Yeah. I mean, guys, anyone got any opinion on this? I mean, it's Colin's making good points. All of a sudden we're all dropping like flies. Is it the training? Is it the physio? What's going on?
Brian, I've said it before on here. A couple is these things happen. 4 or 5, it's maybe just bad luck. But when you go over that, it's something's definitely not. Something doesn't smell right. That's all I'm saying. It's just bizarre. It's really, really bizarre. I think the wee guy's still there that Colin was talking about. I'm sure he's still there. I still see him a bit. I just think he's not got as prominent a role, I don't think. But yeah, it's bizarre. Very, very strange. I think that whole side of the club needs desperately looked at, and I dare say that will be part of this new shuffle that they've been doing over the last kind of 3 or 4 weeks. So I dare say something's going to give there. I don't know whether they'll maybe do it publicly, but I dare say that something needs to give, because I'm 100% sure. See, if us as fans are thinking this, surely to God, your sports scientists and even Beale must be thinking to himself, what is happening at this club? Because as I said, that's not just bad luck. There's something. I'm not saying there's something sinister. I'm just saying it's definitely something doesn't smell rosy in the garden.
I mean, Colin, is that your sort of thoughts? I mean, are you particularly laying the blame at either the training or the medical? Where's your thoughts on it?
Well, as I said there, guys, obviously I don't know. I'm not a professional. I'm not a physiotherapist or a sports scientist. I'm just a guy like yourselves who's watched football long enough to know that, at the end of the day, injuries happen. But, I mean, it's either... I mean, I was just making a one point there, Tillman getting off at Parkhead. I mean, so the guy's done a warm-up, he's done his stretches, he's done all the stuff you're supposed to do. Now, I go to the gym and you'd stretch and all that, and I've never, halfway through a gym session, had to go home, you know what I mean, because I didn't stretch properly or something, you know what I mean? So, they're just like, it's either they're not looking after themselves properly, or, as I said, I'm just Craig Flanagan, I just don't remember any injuries this bad when Craig Flanagan was the guy. So it must be a combination of the both of them. Just to understand it. And it obviously affects our performances, you know, and as I said, and, you know, other teams getting made better than what they are because we can't put a full force team out.
Colin, I've had to get home halfway through a sandwich before.
Like it, mate. I like it.
I mean, Colin, that's a, you know, it's a valid point. It's definitely an area of the club where we're either lacking in training or something. So, yeah. But thanks for your call, Colin. Much appreciated.
No bother, guys. Cheers, thanks again for letting me on. Appreciate that.
Not a problem. See you later. Yeah, Robert.
Thanks,
I mean,
mate.
it's a funny one. You know, this injuries, training. But I mean, for me, I think it's something to do with the old manager. Training with Gerrard, we were so well trained and drilled, and then all of a sudden the rumours were coming out about Gio's training. I think I just don't think the players can play at the intensity that Beale wants, and this is all the injuries. I don't know what you think.
Brian.
Martin.
Did you just take a big massive swig of a 2-litre bottle of juice while somebody was on the phone?
I was thirsty, sorry.
Right, verbal warning.
No, so to answer your question, I think we'll see how a full pre-season helps the team in terms of physicality and hopefully eradicating some of these injuries. Sometimes I think just be more than football, maybe they're too like honed machine-wise, do you know what I mean? Like they maybe do too much. So they are more susceptible to injuries. So I don't know if that makes sense to everybody, it doesn't mind. So I think it'll just be a pre-season. And this is what, just to link into, again, conversation we had before, I think this is why I'm a bit shocked that there's no any announcements in terms of players being signed yet, because I think we need to start doing a business really soon so that these guys are ready for this pre-season, because you don't want them coming in halfway through or towards the end of it and then they're not up to speed and all of a sudden you're sort of chasing your tail again. We need to be really ready for this next season. Like Michael Beale will know himself that this can't happen again. And the manner it's happened as well, it's just been no acceptable.
Yeah, totally agree. So going on to the player performances at the weekend, Wolf. We've been crying out for a change in goalkeeper, certainly for a long time. It finally happened yesterday. Young McCrorie started. Before yesterday, he had played twice, kept 2 clean sheets, once in Europe and once in an Old Firm. He hasn't seen a first-team game since the Old Firm that day. Excuse me. He was. There was a couple of times where there was a one-on-one, and he made a few crucial saves, and I thought he looked very, very accomplished and like he'd been there a long time.
Well, he has been at the club he's probably due a test. He's been at the club so long, to be perfectly honest. But I mean, 100% clean sheet record after that.
Well, while your internet's gone, John's on the line. John, how are you doing?
Hi, fine. How are you going?
Not bad, yourself?
I was just thinking, not bad, yeah, all right, yeah. On the point of injuries, we've had them ever since Archie Knox has been at the club. We always had a lot of crisis with injuries.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a sort of modern thing.
So
used
do
to
you
be,
think this
who's
is,
going to be out this weekend?
Yeah, do you think this has been an ongoing thing, as in a historical thing?
For
not a
a
new
long,
thing.
long time, yeah. I just think we're an unlucky team. I know you think they must be motivated. I'm beginning to think it's just unlucky. I remember I used to go to football, used to say to Dad, it's a bit like a hotel. Ian Ferguson would be out this week and Charlie Miller would be coming back in just to see who's going out, something like that.
John, see if you're winning trophies and you're winning games of football, it doesn't get spoke about. All right, there's sympathy for guys who are injured, but see if you're winning games of football, it doesn't get spoken about. It's when you're not winning games of football and you're obviously struggling for form, then it gets highlighted. So I think it's just a mixture of the two at the minute. Obviously, we're down on our luck in terms of results and performances, and then these injuries sort of feed into that. So I get what you're saying. Absolutely, we have been very unlucky down the years. But I get you fans of any club would say they've been unlucky with injuries they've had as well. So it's just one of the things. I think you need to, as we said before, get a good pre-season under their belt and then start winning games of football and get a bit of rhythm in their play and breed the confidence. And I think players will maybe not be niggly ones when they're winning games of football because they want to play next week. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we do see it's just unbelievable. I don't think any other club in the world gets the injuries we do over a period.
I mean, John, it's funny how last season we played, I think, more games than anybody. I think we played as many as Man City played near enough the same as us, but I think we played the most games over this one season, and we played 2 games back to back, going to extra time in both games, and the players sailed through that. So it's just weird how we went from being able to do that to suddenly dropping like flies, isn't it?
Yeah. I was just thinking for Saturday, I think possibly 2 weeks, but I had a wee feeling that it's going to be Cantwell's day on Saturday. I've just got a feeling he's had a few games against him to get used to them, but on Saturday it's going to be his day at home.
Yeah. Would you play Morelos again?
Probably not. If it showed up a wee bit better yesterday, maybe. But I'm kind of half and half about Morelos. I mean, I've always liked him, but obviously he's just, he's gone totally now. Sakala would probably be my striker.
Absolutely.
We've got so many to choose from that are injured, haven't we?
Yeah, I know. It's not been great. So anyway, John, thanks for that call. Much appreciated. We'll hopefully hear from you again soon.
Right. Bye.
Okay, bye. So, Wilf, I mean, this Morelos one's not going to go away until he actually leaves, and it's just going to drag on and drag on. Of course, as you said and other guys said, we've nobody else, and that makes it even more awkward that we've got nobody else to play, doesn't it?
Well, I think it's a chance for the manager to show how ruthless he is and can be, because he's going to have to be ruthless, and he's just going to have to come out and say, look, can't trust him, not going to play him. It means we need to go with slightly different formation without a number 9 up front, unless he throws in one of the kids, which I don't think he'll do. I personally don't think that the young team are ready for a game like that yet, and that's not particularly the fault of the academy or the coaching staff. I think it's the fault of the system, because people are always comparing it to, if I can do it, all the Dutch teams can do it, and we can do it, but their B team higher level. I mean, the Dutch B teams play in the 2nd division in Holland. The German B teams play in the 3rd division, 5 levels down. I mean, that's a big difference between every Saturday against, with the greatest of respect to them, postmen, plumbers and office workers, to playing against full-time international professional football players. There's a huge difference in that. The game, never mind the ability. So to ask you young guys to go from playing a guy that does it part-time against the afternoon to playing against international football players who are full-time professionals in front of 50,000 folk, that's a massive jump. And I know they're cosseted in an academy and they play all these games. That's why I pulled out of the result exists. That was good of a better ability, but still, again, just playing again. What I mean? That's why I don't think you can throw in one of the young guys. I mean, you saw when we scored 5 goals in the youth cup week. The boys had good performances, but
hold that thought, Wolf. Craig is on the line. Craig, how are you doing?
Hi guys, first time caller. I've listened to you guys on YouTube for a few weeks, and I was just listening on the likes of obviously a day off work with the bank holiday and what have you. But it was just about the injuries we were talking about. And I was saying to the guy there, I'm not sure who it was that left when Gerrard left, if he was a sports scientist or physio, but if memory serves me, went to Leicester. I might be getting that completely mixed up, but I don't know if it's been touched on before I started listening. But it's since then, and like one of the guys said earlier, you know, Gio, I remember Scotty Arfield was saying in the summer it was like the most different pre-season he ever had. It was just ball work, and you know, we saying Sean Dyche and Gerrard had them running. It was like, now we get the balls out, you know, and it was very like Walter Smith. It's like, no, you fitness up and then we do the ball work. So I agree with what kind of the guy was saying earlier on there. It's like when you're playing well, the injuries don't matter. And I think, I don't really like to name names, but I think there's about 3 or 4 maybe in the squad that are a wee bit sort of, I don't know if mentally scarred's the right word, but it's like when you pick up an injury, it's like, no. It's like rather than try to get back as quickly as you can, you probably know who I'm alluding to, but it's like, no, I'll just sit at home at the end of the season, and we've never seen these guys in 3 or 4 months, and one of them's out of contract. So hopefully Michael Beale can get the right players like Gerrard did in 2018 and get the right sort of core of the I think the backbone's really important, and someone like you sort of mentioned, a really good pre-season and fitness rather than that ball work that Gio and, you know, Mackay and everybody did last year, I think is really important this summer.
Yeah, I mean, Robert, it's, you know, I think it was Mark Waller was the doctor, wasn't Dr. Mark Waller? He went to Leicester. So,
yeah,
I mean,
that's right. Yeah.
So, I mean, Robert, it's you're trying to add 2 and 2, come up with 4, but you're guessing a lot at the time. You're making, you know, you're saying that the one physio left, another came in that's changed. Managers have come in, changed. We're always guessing, aren't we? We don't really know.
Well, it's hard enough trying to, like, as you know, a layman just watching the telly, watching the games in the house, or going to the games to understand like inside the tactics and stuff. Never mind medicine. Medicine's really intricate. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think Craig makes some great points. Really good call. I think he makes a great point in the sense of how important it is to get the backbone right for next season. And you're looking at that team and thinking like, who stays, who goes, what shape are we going to have next season? Because I still think Michael Beale hasn't delivered on a style of play which he promised. And I think he's now thinking, like, what am I going to do next season? Am I going to play maybe Tavernier and Yilmaz higher up and play 3 at the back? Or you just don't really know how we're going to look coming to start of the next campaign. So hopefully it is going to be an injury-free season. I think, what Craig said there, it is so important to be winning games. And I think that means that the wee niggly ones they do go away. Players maybe want to play because they want to keep their jersey and they want to keep winning. It's addictive, isn't it, winning stuff? So it's I think it's just a shift we need something to change for us, and then I think that luck will come with us, and that's just going to come for winning games of football.
Yeah, I mean, Craig, do you feel now that Michael Beale's obviously back as manager that the pre-season is going to be completely different from what it was last year, in the sense that there's going to be a lot more, you know, physio, as in working them hard rather than what Gio was doing? Do you think that'll benefit? I mean, it'll depend what players that he's going to take in, but I would imagine they'll all feed into his ideas, won't they?
Yeah, I think so. And I think from what you said, what I like about what you said already is he's met a good group of players that he wants to bring in for next season. So he's obviously one of the guys who's saying announce the players now. I think that will come next week or so. At the boy Dow, I think Butland will probably be the first couple in, unless the Butland one's maybe fallen through. I'm not sure, but yeah, fitness. I think Michael Beale, you know, obviously was there, and him and Gerrard. That was, you know, you mentioned earlier on the cup final against semi-final against them last year, and the final against Hearts. You know, we'd played a European final 3 days before, and we were outrunning Hearts in extra time, and I think that was more to do with the groundwork that Gerrard and Beale done in the summer. You know, I know Van Bronckhorst was the manager, but, you know, it's a complete night and day. You think 12 months ago, we look knackered at times now, and like 12 months ago, we were playing a European semi-final against Leipzig, and then, you know, no, that's not the right one, was it? Sorry, the Celtic, the one before the Celtic was at Braga, before the Celtic semi-final. It was extra time, I'm sure. And then, as I say, the Frankfurt game, and then, you know, less than 72 hours later, we're, you know, outrunning Hearts to score a counter-attack and goal in second half extra time. So, yeah, to answer your question, I think Michael Beale and the guys, that'll be a big emphasis, and I think he has, you know, alluded to that kind of work rate and different things off the ball. So, Just a final point as well, guys, if you don't mind. Somebody mentioned earlier on, and I'm kind of showing my age here, but they mentioned about, Archie Knox and things like that. I remember going to see Rangers training. I was actually a dog in school when they used to train along from Knightswood Secondary School. I don't know if you guys all know what I'm talking about, but used to sneak along there and see them training. And, Ali was always late turning up and whatever. So I think it was slightly different, the reason that maybe injuries occurred back in the days. But yeah, just obviously one of the callers mentioned, like, we've had that since Archie Knox. I think when you go back to the McLeish team, in 2003, Barry Ferguson's going 20 goals in midfield. He'd never missed a game. And, it was the same 11 pretty much every week. So I think, like you mentioned earlier, it's definitely, and I know I said I wasn't going to name names, you probably do know what I'm talking about, but definitely there's been guys that are not making themselves available for selection because of the way the seasons went, in my opinion. Obviously, I don't know that for a fact, but yeah, I'm excited for next season because although I would admit there's a bit of a difference, and it's kind of hard to judge them on one-off games against them, but there's not really been a lot. It's been a lot of mistakes. I think we've gifted them like 3 or 4 goals in the last 3 games, so really excited for next season. But I think fitness is the main thing because that's what Beale and Gerrard were all about first time round.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your call. Much appreciated.
Brilliant call, Craig. Call again, mate. Call again.
Good points.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Okay, take it easy. Thank you. So yeah, I mean, Mark, it's going to be down to Michael Beale and his staff to get the players primed and ready for the season, in pre-season for 23-24 season. It's been publicly said that they didn't like Gio's pre-season or his training. So hopefully with the new players and Michael Beale and the training staff, they'll be able to get that crucial pre-season work in and get them ready for the season, won't they?
Yeah, I think this is probably a nod towards why we've had so many injuries. I think that the preparation physically has not been good enough pre-season. I think that it's been kind of well documented that Gio done a lot of stuff with balls and stuff like that. Whereas I think that's all good, especially if you're wanting to play a kind of a ball playing style of football and possession based and stuff like that. That's good, but I think that you need a base, and I think that a base fitness, and I think that that's something that I think Beale will drum into these players. I think he was obviously part of the setup for pre-season for Gerrard, and I think that a lot of it probably was to do with him. I think a lot of his ideas and his sessions and stuff like that as well. So I would like to think, I know that obviously we're just surmising, but I would like to think that he's going to get these boys really, really fit. I think that he looks to play a kind of high press and a kind of a quite an aggressive press, the way he likes to play football. And I think that at the moment he's slightly frustrated, as we are, that I don't think the team are physically not capable of doing that. I think that we've done it. If you look back at the last Old Firm game, I think we've done it for probably the first 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes maximum, and we looked a different team. We looked decent. We looked as if we could match Celtic, and we looked as if we had them rattled. But I think physically we just couldn't sustain it. I think that kind of dipped off, and that's why we ended up with problems. And I think that's a massive part of it. I think that this base fitness is something that I think that Beale will drum into these players. I think that moving forward, I'm hoping that that's going to be the case, and I'm hoping that will help as the fitness increases. I think that hopefully the injuries will decrease. But as I said, that's just one man's opinion. You're on mute.
We've now got Curry on the phone. Evening, Curry. How are you doing?
Good evening.
Are you well?
No, I'm absolutely terrible.
Right, talk dirty to me. Oh, sorry, this is the wrong number. Sorry. Wrong pod. Bollocks.
So, what have you made of all the weekend's news then?
I missed the last wee bit because I had you on mute. So what were you talking about?
Well, obviously Michael Beale came out and called out Morelos, saying that he didn't even make a dent in the performance when he came on. McCrorie starting. So I mean, there's lots to try and get through. I mean, is there any? I would imagine you've got a strong opinion about some of these.
Oh, you know me too well. You know me too well, mate. Well, what you said right at the start, I think that leads me right into my thoughts on it. A lot of people are a bit cheesed off what Beale said about Morelos. It had to be said. It had to be said. That was one up there with one of the most pathetic, disgusting performances I've ever seen for a Rangers player in all the times that I've been watching Rangers. There was zero effort. I'm trying to no swear or shout, but nah. Beale was right. But this leads me into my question. I'm starting to get worried about Beale's decisions. Now, Beale knew he's been leaving, and he's obviously known for a while. The same as we've all been saying it anyway. Why did he play him? We know what Alfie's like. Alfie's for Alfie. Alfie's not for Rangers. Alfie's for himself. He's always been like that. Now, we've all praised Alfie. He's gave us some fantastic nights, some fantastic goals. We've hailed him when he's all the goals in Europe, getting us through to the latter stages. We defended him when the media were on his back all the time. We defended him when that filth were giving him racial abuse, and we stuck by him. Through all the red cards that he got and the silly mistakes he was doing and his petulance, we stuck by him. And now it comes to this point where he just played the most disgusting game of his life. And I think Beale was right saying that. But Beale's decisions are really, really worrying me. Now, I'll back him for next season, but there's been one too many bad mistakes being made or bad decisions being made on subs. And I don't know about you guys. Are you seeing this? Am I just making this up myself, or are you seeing this and all a few worrying signs?
Wolf, are you seeing any worrying signs from Michael Beale and his tactics?
Yes and no. Yes, some of his things that some of the decisions he makes aren't great. My biggest problem with substitutions is he doesn't seem to change anything. He generally changes like for like. So he's making substitutions because the game's not going well, and he's taking off. He's not changing the system. He's just taking off one player and basically putting a similar player in the same position. So he's not really changing anything. As I said earlier, I'm more than a wee bit annoyed that Morelos was in the squad on Sunday, let alone that he brought him on. But it might have been necessity because we don't have a striker, so I'll give him a pass on that. But yeah, some of the substitutions are very strange. I mean, the making four subs at once as well is a bit odd. I mean, on Sunday, to go back to yesterday, the one that amazed me was we scored, and I know he was making the substitution before we scored. He left Todd Cantwell on. Now, Todd Cantwell was on a yellow card, and the way he's playing, there was a chance for him. We've got a big game. It's a game that, yeah, it's a dead rubber, but it matters because it's against them in that game. So there was, I think, a second yellow card because you know what he is a player and what officials can be like. So I was, although he was playing well, I was amazed that he didn't take him off substitutions. I would have thought he maybe kept one in the background just maybe with go up against it, just to save him for next week, save him from himself because he can't do it. So some of his decisions are a bit odd, but the biggest one for me is the fact that he doesn't make substitutions to change the game. He brings, for example, he takes off Matondo, puts on Scott Wright. you're taking off one player, putting the same player on. You know, that's that sort of thing. That bothers me because it doesn't change anything. If the game's not going well with the system you're playing, keeping the same system isn't good, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Curry, it seems to be that everybody's starting to think what you're saying. But I mean, is it a case of that Michael Beale is pretty much working with what he's got, and you know, there's not really, this season was pretty much a write-off when he came in.
The league wasn't, and the cups weren't a write-off when he came in. We had players underperforming. The fitness was absolutely shocking. I need to do my usual. I need to disagree with Robert. So I'm sorry, Robert, but I'll need to have a dig at me. It's no unlucky, the injuries we're getting. It's negligence. There is zero. There's no way that we should have as many injuries in one season from so many players and for such an extended time. That's just that doesn't wash with me. Have we seen improvements tactically wise? I definitely. That's the one thing I will say. We look at a more exciting side. We have been winning the majority of the games, but it's games we should be winning. We shouldn't be having any bother against the lesser teams. Mm-hmm. I just wish I knew what's going through Beale's mind on the players that are here and the ones that are leaving and who he's going to bring in. He's brought in two fantastic players in Raskin and Cantwell. If we can bring in another 5 or 6 of them, hopefully, Christ, I wish we could bring in 8. But if we can bring in players of that standard, next season will look a lot brighter than it has now. As I said, I'm going to back Beale next season. I've not threw the towel in yet on Beale. There's a lot of people out there saying, "Oh, he should be gone." That's just, I'm sorry. I know it's a lot of, but the guys that I know from my own pod and from my own chats and that, but that is nonsense. We need to give him the time and let him see what's happening. And I also say, can we please buy Wilf some Morse code machines or semaphore flags for his internet?
Aye, I think that's absolutely. Curry, thank you very much as usual. Much appreciated.
No bother, bro. Right, take it easy, guys. Have a good one.
Well.
All the best, Curry.
So yeah, it's, you know, there's a lot of fans now are starting to either agree or disagree, but you know, it's a case of now that everybody's pretty much seeing you're either for it or you're not. You know, with Morelos, it was very much split down the middle before, but I think that the pendulum swinging towards, you know, a lot of people have just had enough of him and they don't want to see him again.
I think I would say 95% of people have had enough of him. I think probably 95% have had enough of him probably 6 or 7, 8 weeks ago. It's just, I think he's starting to damage his legacy here, and it's a shame. Like Wolf says, probably in 2 or 3 years' time we'll be think more fondly of him at the moment, but he's just frustrated the life out of us this season, especially when we've really needed a striker. We've struggled all season, and we've been desperate for 2019 Alfie. And it's been a hard watch. As I said, I don't want to slag him off, because do you know what? Looking positively at it, he's been the best 1.2 million we've spent in a long time. All right, he's been here 6 years. We've maybe had, say, 4 good years at him, really good years at him, to the point where he's been a cult figure for us. And in this day and age, and where our club are at the minute, we've no really got or no had cult figures for the last probably 10 year, 15 year ish. So for me, that's big. He'll go with my best wishes. I think that he's let himself down this season, and I mean, we've backed him like Curry said there. We've backed him at the hilt, and and he's no really repaid us for that. I think, as I said last season, at the very, very least, he's been very poor. He's been a shell. It's as if they've swapped him out with his no very good twin brother that's a little bit heavier than him. So, as I said, it's time for him to go. I think that personally, I wouldn't let him kick a ball again. You're on mute, mate.
Yeah, William is waiting. William, how are you doing?
Good evening, folks. I'll just jump right into this.
Okay.
The problem we've got is that when Gio inherited an extremely fit squad, and from the day he took over, he started running the team into the ground. Where I sit in the main stand, I could see for a calendar month that Alfredo Morelos, he was pulling up, he was holding the back of his leg, and he was signalling to the bench to say, I can't go on, and they wouldn't take him off. And we all know that it culminated in him being used twice at Dens Park when we were playing the worst team in the league, and obviously the worst Premier League team in the Cup. And he still started him in both games. Because he didn't say he was injured, which he obviously was carrying an injury, you have to go on international duty. And he comes back broken. But I want to move on and mention that the game where Beale came up, where the board were obviously apologising to him, the Aberdeen game, Cholak started that game and he was injured in the first half early on and he was limping and he wasn't subbed until the 70th minute. And then we can see what's happened to him. I'll go back to Alfie. So Alfie obviously ended up out injured and he missed the biggest games of his career. He will never have the chance to play in a semi-final or a European final or maybe even a cup final. He missed all those games. And I think that's where maybe the love affair sort of broke down for him. And Gio misused him. And then it was interesting, Brian and Wilford made some great points tonight, but Brian mentioned the Hibs game where we were down a man and Gio, in his wisdom, decided to bring on an unfit Alfredo Morelos rather than bringing on somebody who can run at 100 miles an hour because he had Sakalo on the bench, but we all know that he didn't like him or didn't fancy him. So he brought on an unfit Alfredo and he gets a red card. Anyway, I'll try to move on from that. Tom Lawrence was rushed back into full training. You've all heard about that. And then the next thing we know, he's out again. And now he's going to be out for what it looks like a calendar year. And that's under Gio. The squad has been absolutely wrecked. We've had people being given injections, like John Lundstrom was receiving injections and playing through the pain barrier. Michael Beale alluded to it just the other week. They were asking him about injuries and he said, it wasn't like this when I was here before and I can't believe what has happened in the time that I've been away. And he had only been away, whatever it was, a year and a half. And suddenly he's back and his whole the team's falling apart. So we've got to try to move on for the Alfie thing because we've got to try to look at it from his perspective that he's missed the biggest games of his career. And the Rangers fans love him and have loved him, but we need to stop doing this thing because we have been dumped by him. It's this thing where it's a relationship that's broke down and he had checked out a long time ago and you all know that now, you can see it. And what will probably end up happening is he'll go off with somebody nice, somebody new, and he'll lose weight and all that. You know what I mean? A bit like, anyway, I'm alluding to things that other people may have had happen to them in their lives. As in, because it is like a relationship for Rangers fans with the players, as in they absolutely adore the players, and we need to try to move away from that and realise that we should have sold Alfredo Morelos when we had a serious offer of approximately 16 million, whatever it was, that he should have gone then. There should have been none of this, we better keep him, the fans will go mad if he leaves. And look what's happening now, he's leaving under a cloud. Anyway, look, I think that's most of the points that I wanted to make. That I think there's two sides to the story, and that we should try to kind of like, sometimes the Lease said soon as mended with Alfie, and we probably should try to see it from his perspective, and we need to have a good talk about Gio again, and the team won't be right for some considerable time, which it was nice to hear Curry mentioned a few things, and everybody's saying that. I think Brian said that we have to wait, and Wilf said it as well, we'll have to wait till Beale has a fit team and picking from his own players and see how it goes then. It's wrong to judge right now. Right, that's me. I'm done.
But absolutely brilliant points, William. It was the comments are flying in saying how good it was. Marvellous. I was trying to take it all in. It's, a lot of good points. Robert, try and pick the bones out of that if you can then.
I need to lie down. It was, it was really good, William. It makes it like you've also done your homework and you take a lot of stuff in when you're watching the games and that. So it was interesting. You should think maybe you should be in the medical team. But no, certainly. I mean, slightly. I get what you're saying in terms of the empathy for Alfredo Morelos, and obviously he did miss out in these games. And as you say, he could have been helped by his manager at that point. I definitely hear what you're saying there, but at the same time, I don't think he's helped himself at times. He's been let off on numerous occasions with stuff not coming back for here and turning up overweight there, and I think it's wrong for us to say, we should maybe give him a wee cuddle and say, you're right, son, you missed it at the European final. No, I think he's got to, he'll not realise until 5, 6, 7, 10 years down the line that he was never going to get any better than what he's got at the minute, and I think he geared up too soon on Rangers. As you say, maybe we should have cashed in on him. I agree with that. We should have took the money. We've been far too sentimental with players since Steven Gerrard came in. We should have cashed in on a lot of players. There's a list: Kamara, Barisic. Get them in, get them at their prime, ship them out, get another one, because better players have left Rangers and we've moved on as well. So players come and go. That's the whole thing about modern football, but football in general. So I just think, Fredo, it's a sad end, really. But no, some great points on the injuries, and we'll know in time if that is an issue when Michael Beale does get his teeth into it and gets a pre-season under his belt.
Absolutely. Well, William, thanks for your call. It was a really good point.
Call again, William.
Well thought out. And we'll hear from you again soon.
All right.
So I think we've got time for one more call, maybe. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, Mark, that was again, as Robert said, you have to take a lie down after listening to that. I mean, it was all well thought out points, and it was pretty much nail on the head, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so, 100%. I think the man spoke a lot of sense, which probably that's not said a lot about someone else on here. But yeah, no, I think he's right. I think that obviously, from my point of view, just to add on it, I think that under Gio, when Gio took over, I think we had peaked, and I think that it was time to refresh then. I think it was time to bring players in and freshen up the squad, and I think that would started coming down the way. And I think that the fact, I don't know whether it was they never gave him money or we're never probably going to get to the bottom of it, but I don't think once that slide, and I mentioned it before, once the slide starts, it's very, very hard to stop it. It's almost like a runaway train. It's hard to put your finger on it. What was the problem? But you could see it. You could see it unfolding for the full season. We just gradually get worse and worse and worse and worse. And let's face it. And let's hit the nail on it. Let's call a spade. Hit the nail on the head. All these things. This was the same team and the same players that got Gio the sack. So. And I've said it before, it's the definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. These players are the players that weren't good enough. They were good enough under Gerrard, but they peaked with Gerrard. And I don't know whether maybe Gerrard's cleverer than we give him we give him credit for. That he's maybe seen that and went, do you know what? If they're not going to give me money, I'm out of here. But that's hindsight. But as I said, we seen it as fans. We seen the decline, and as I said, it was like a runaway train. And Gio must have seen it as well. To be perfectly honest, but I think Gio never had the personality to kind of almost fight back and say to the board, "This is what I need." I think it was too placid, and probably between that and the way the players were playing, that cost him his job. But I think that anybody asking for Beale's head or saying Beale's no get this or no get that, for me, only thing that Beale's done since he came in was try and do the best with what he had. And the bright spark is he had a chance to bring in 2 players, and they 2 players are a massive positive. So for me, that gives me hope looking towards next season. If even Curry said it, if he can bring another few players in of that ilk, then I think we'll be in a very good place. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. As I said, I'm looking forward rather than back. But yeah, I'm excited from that point of view.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose we will finish on a positive, Wolf. Todd Cantwell yesterday, another good performance, a marvellous goal. I liked, although he got booked, I was quite pleased to see that aggression and that sort of standing up, and sticking up for himself. I don't think we've had enough of them in that type of player in the team. For me, he's been the sort of only shining bright this sort of season, hasn't he? Mute.
So the sticking up for himself is not what we expected from Todd Cantwell, identity. I mean, it's great that he does stick up for himself. Fantastic goal. I mean, when they announced him as man of the match, I commented that the Todd Cantwell player of the match is Todd Cantwell because he's winning it every week, and he's justifiable winning it every week. And if Todd Cantwell or Nicola Raskin, who are the only players that Michael Beale's brought in, are the standard for what he's bringing in, like Mark, I'm encouraged for that, because if that's the standard of player you're bringing in, then I'm more than happy with that. And the boss is back.
Yeah, it's just a very quick one. There's been a few people messaging, and I think Curry's just asked in the comments about the live podcast that we're doing on Friday the 19th of May at Lounge 72 in Uddingston. There is, the last time I checked, 14 tickets left. If you've been watching for a while, this stream, then refresh and the link for tickets will be in the description, but there is only about, I think, 13, 14 tickets left if you want to come along to the live podcast on the 19th of May at Lounge 72. And I just want to respond to this quickly. Martin, we hardly ever hear you on the panel now. I miss you. I miss you all as well. But I'm in the background dealing with stuff, shouting at Brian, leaving the guys notes. I'm doing all the work in the background. I'm going to teach somebody how to do it, and then I'll be back hopefully soon. But yeah, 19th of May at Lounge 72, 7:45 kickoff for the live podcast, and the link for tickets is in the description. If you go into the description and they're not there, refresh and they will pop up. I'll leave you to it, Brian. Make sure you come off mute, please.
Yes, I have. But yeah, following on, Wolf, I mean, carry on.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as you say, Cantwell's been probably the shining light, shined him in. Nicola Raskin, the thing that I'm a bit concerned about him, because he hasn't lasted 90 minutes yet, gets taken off in every game. That's a wee bit concerning, but that could be down to the fact he needs a pre-season. So hopefully he gets a pre-season and that'll sort him out. I'd like to think, to pick up what Robert said earlier, that the manager was lined to come in, because the way he's speaking, was it 10 days ago or whatever, he said 2 players will be in for the start of pre-season. To me, that means they've already signed pre-contracts with some anybody, because how can he be definitely sure they're coming in if he doesn't know they've signed a contract? For me, there could be various reasons why they haven't signed them. They're obviously better than another club, and the other club might be involved in promotion, relegation, whatever, and they just don't want to make it public. There's going to be a massive clear out, but as I say, the standard bringing in is the same as the two he's brought in so far. Then the future is bright. But I mean, that last call from William just hit the nail on the head. I mean, can't disagree with a single thing that he said. When you think about it that way and you break it down like that, a lot of the players have come back. You can see because they're coming back for a couple of games and breaking down. And it's players aren't normally injured. I mean, the other thing that I wonder about is the diagnostics of the injuries, because we've got players and they're good. It's a slight knock in days. Then they've had a scan and 4, 5, 6 months. So they need to get that right. They need to get the diagnosis of the problem right as well, so they know what they're dealing with. You know what I mean? I've never seen it. I mean, Michael Beale said, he's never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it. Football players get injured, but they don't all get injured at the same time. And it's all different injuries. I mean, if you think back to the start of last season, and we don't like comparing this to that other mob, but they were popping things all over the place. They were playing, high intensity running about, and the hamstrings were going every week. We're not getting that. We're having loads of different injuries. So it's not one specific problem. So that needs addressed. And whatever the medical department is going to look like, we need to know. We need to know, is it an agency that's doing it? Have we actually got a club doctor? Because we've always known the name. I mean, even going back to when I was a kid, it was Doc Cruikshank was a club doctor for many years. Nobody knew anything about him, but they knew his name. You knew who he was because you saw him sitting on the bench, and that's who he was. These days, it's a lot more public. We had Mark Waller. Has he ever been replaced? If he's been replaced, who's he been replaced by? What's the credentials? We need to know things like that. We need to know what we're dealing with. But the injury, very worrying. But as William said, and the way that he put it back year, 18 months, come to the end. I mean, the Lawrence one's really, really, really worrying. I mean, he was originally out for a couple of months. I haven't seen him for a year. You know what I mean? It's like it just really, really frustrates me. And before I stop talking and before my internet drops out again, first of all, I hope you enjoyed the wee tour of my house. I'm now standing in my kitchen. Hopefully the Wi-Fi's working at the router. And I'd also like to say hello to a young fella that was sitting behind me yesterday, using my mate's season tickets to the guy that sits behind me. He's an avid watcher of the pod. I told him to phone in, but he's too shy. He didn't even speak yesterday at the game. So young Zachy, I said I'd give him a shout out tonight. So my mate messaged me through the week, so this chance to meet you. I don't know why he wants to meet me, but I mean, you boys are a lot more knowledgeable and a lot more handsome, except for Brian, obviously, than me. So Zachy, I tell you, give me a shout out. So that's me. I'll stop talking now just before this internet decides it's going to collapse on me again.
Well, folks, that's just about it. I'd like to thank Robert, Mark, and Wilf for joining me tonight. It's been eventful phone in as usual. Lots of great points, lots of great callers. To mention as well that this is sponsored by Let Me Repair UK. Any electricals, phone, laptops, anything like that, get it to these guys and they will fix it for you. So as Martin says, we've got the live
Did
pod.
it do Wi-Fi?
Well, they maybe do, Wilf. I don't know, but it's maybe worth dropping in. As Martin said, we've got the live pod on the 19th. He reckons there's just over a dozen tickets left. So if you want to come along at the Lounge 72 in Unston, get in the description below and get your tickets, and you can come and enjoy a live show. So again, thanks to all the people in the chat. Thanks to the guys here and Martin for doing the phone in, and we shall see you very, very soon.